The Last of Us is quite possibly one of the best games of all time, providing a gripping, violent experience as the player explores the collapse of human civilization as we know it. A post-apocalyptic world 20 years after the mutation of the cordyceps virus turns humans into violent, flesh-eating infected. Players experience civilization decay into war, famine, and an all-out battle for survival at all costs. It's gritty, it shocks, it dazzles, and most importantly, provides an almost unparalleled gaming experience through its emphasis on strong character development, stunningly crafted world, and a soundtrack that perfectly complements the tension, horror and gore of the decaying world in which you play. The game is brought to life by two engaging protagonists in Joel and Ellie, who offer two very contrasting personalities. Joel's pessimistic worldview, violent nature and evident attachment issues perfectly intertwine with Ellie's belief that she can aid mankind with a cure through her immunity to the virus and her obvious abandonment issues. What this brings is the juxtaposition of a duo so clearly at odds with one another, but also one that complements each other so nicely and provides a terrifying prospect for any who come into contact with them. Their developing bond is the foundation for this game. The plot centres around their journey to link up with the Fireflies, a militia group determined to rid the United States of the military dictatorship that now rules with an iron grip, and who also believe Ellie's immunity is the cure to the cordyceps virus that now engulfs the country. All of this rolled together alongside the threat of the infected, who come in various forms, and the threat of humans, some who evolved into hunters and/or cannibals, intent on surviving at all costs, is a near-perfect video game. It plays as a horror thriller and provides a compelling playthrough, and one which will terrify, challenge and amaze the player long after the game's conclusion. In addition, it also provides quite possibly one of the greatest endings to a narrative within a video game, one which still to this day has myself and many other players questioning the motives of Joel and the validity of his actions in saving Ellie. The game is special due to its innovative gameplay, which is a combination of stealth, action and puzzle solving elements, and it creates a fabulously unique and engaging gameplay experience overall. The game also features a crafting system that allows players to scavenge for resources and create items to aid in their survival, which must be done in real time, adding to that overall suspense. And furthermore, the game's graphics are highly detailed and realistic, creating a visually immersive world that adds to the game's overall atmosphere and sense of realism. For the time period in which it was released, The Last of Us certainly knocked the ball out of the proverbial park with its world building, creating dark, cramped and incredibly unsettling environments to fight off both infected and humans alike. And this is balanced out with both city and rural settings in Boston, Jackson and Salt Lake City, to name a few, which again are visually impressive. And combine this with an award-winning soundtrack composed by Gustavo Santaolalla, which enhances the emotional impact of the game's story, but also adds the nail-biting, eerie and downright scary engagements with both infected and humans. The result is a game that received critical acclaim and is widely regarded as one of the best video games of all time. It was a commercial success, selling millions of copies worldwide. Much of the acclaim is centred around the game's plot. The game wastes no time in setting the tone and pacing as we're introduced to Joel and his young daughter Sarah as the virus begins to take hold of the USA. The brutal killing of his neighbour who is infected and the subsequent arrival of his brother Tommy to aid in their escape from the city sets a very dark and sinister tone. In the ensuing chaos, Sarah is shot by a soldier and Joel cradles his dying daughter in his arms, distraught and repeating the important words.
Move your hands, babe. I know, baby, I know. God. Listen to me, I know this hurts you. You're gonna be okay, baby, stay with me. Alright, I'm gonna pick you up. I know, baby, I know it hurts. Come on, baby, please. I know, baby, I know. Sarah. Baby.
Fast forward 20 years, Joel and his partner Tess are smugglers, doing what they can to survive. Both are hunting a man named Robert, who appears to have double-crossed them by selling their guns to another buyer. They hunt Robert down in brutal fashion, and this scene highlights the depravity that now engulfs the country. The way in which they dispatch Robert with no emotion really highlights the violent and cruel world that they both now inhabit. As life drains from Robert's body, Marlene, a local militia leader belonging to the group called the Fireflies, turns a corner and indicates that she is looking for Robert. It's revealed Robert had sold the guns to her, and she was seeking his assistance in a very specific job. Reluctantly and with little choice, Joel and Tess agree to a smuggling job with the end goal that they receive their cachet of weapons. They are surprised to learn that the job is to escort a young girl named Ellie from their base in Boston to the Capitol building, where a group of fireflies will meet them. Marlene believes Ellie to be immune as she was bitten 3 weeks ago and still had not turned into infected. It typically takes a person 24 hours to do so. The journey is fraught with dangers as the player comes into contact with the military dictatorship known as Fedra and the infected, who come in 3 forms: runners, clickers and the massive bloaters. They fight their way through the streets and buildings of the now abandoned and destroyed city of Boston, and finally have to navigate the Boston Museum and a whole host of clickers. However, Tess is bitten in the museum, but does not inform Joel until they reach the Capitol building, where they find the fireflies they were expected to meet dead and Fedra closing in on them. Tess demands that Joel complete this mission and insists that Ellie is special, highlighting her immunity and importance to mankind. A reluctant Joel leaves Tess to fight off Fedra, and the journey of Joel and Ellie takes full flight as they seek Joel's brother Tommy, who had previously worked with the Fireflies. And Joel believes that he will know exactly where they can find the Fireflies. Joel's reluctance to take Ellie is down to the trauma of the loss of Sarah 20 years prior, an event that he has never properly addressed or gotten over. It haunts him and provides such an incredible setup for a developing relationship between Joel and Ellie as they travel the country. On their travels they encounter various obstacles and threats, including hostile humans, infected creatures and harsh environmental conditions. They seek the help of Doomsday Prepper Bill, whose ingenious traps, gadgets and determination to survive mean he's secured large parts of the town that he's inhabited solo for the last 20 years. Ellie, up until now fairly reserved and following Joel's orders, begins to come out of her shell, especially as she bites back against Bill's bizarre behaviour and his constant distrust and digging remarks. The two manage to secure a truck with Bill's help and set off for Jackson to find Tommy. Along the way, their bond continues to grow with a sense that Joel sees his own daughter in Ellie and is beginning to build into a role as a surrogate father for her. There is also the lingering realisation for both that the Fireflies are intending to use her immunity to develop a vaccine. What does that mean for Ellie? Will she survive? Will she lose her life? These questions begin to linger in Joel's and Ellie's mind as well. You start to see this in their interactions as the game progresses. As they approach Pittsburgh and the bridge, Joel makes an error of judgment where he decides to drive through the Capitol against his better judgment, and the two are ambushed by hunters from whom they escape and navigate the city as stealthily as possible in order to reach the bridge. Joel's backstory continues to unwind as Ellie asks how he knew they were being ambushed. "Because I did this before," he answers, revealing a much darker side to Joel than the player already knew. Before their exit from the city, they encounter Henry and Sam, two brothers stuck in the city after losing their group who was seeking supplies, and who are also being relentlessly tracked by the same group as hunters as Joel and Ellie. The four agree to help one another and manage to escape Pittsburgh together. Henry and Sam's brotherly relationship plays in dark contrast to Joel and Ellie's, and it's a refreshing reminder that there are still good people out there in the world, that there are still people who are simply looking to survive as best as they possibly can. This feel-good moment doesn't last for long though, as the hunters track them to a neighbourhood and Joel is tasked with using a sniper post to aid Henry's, Sam's and Ellie's escape from the group. The noise made by the attack attracts infected and the group barely make it out of the neighbourhood alive. The following sequence is quite possibly one of the most shocking and incredibly sad scenes within a video game. Sam asks Ellie,
"How is it that you're never scared?"
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Let's see. Scorpions are pretty creepy. Being by myself. I'm scared of ending up alone. What about you?
Those things out there. What if the people are still inside? What if they're trapped in there without any control of their body? Scared of that happening to me.
why? Because he's infected, and it's not only afraid of what is to come, but also afraid to mention it for fear of repercussions. The following morning, this happens.
Where's Sam?
I let him sleep in for once.
Oh.
Well, if you want him to join us, you can go wake his ass up.
Okay. Sam?
The hell? Shit, he's turning! That's my fucking brother! Screw it!
Shit!
Ellie? Ellie, are you alright?
Oh my god.
Sam?
Oh no.
Sam?
Henry? Ellie, stay there. Henry?
What have you done?
I'm gonna get that gun from you, okay? Oh, okay, easy.
This is your fault.
This is nobody's fault, Henry.
It's all your fault.
Henry! Henry, no!
Oh my god.
It's an absolutely harrowing scene. It's unbelievable, it's shocking, and it's amazing in its own right. A truly memorable piece of video game development, and a moment that will go down in history. Henry shooting his own brother and then himself after the realisation of what he has done portrays the depraved world and lays bare the darkness and evil of civilization in the modern day. Joel and Ellie reach Jackson and a hydroelectric plant where they find Tommy and a small group, including Tommy's now wife Maria. Tommy informs Joel he's left the Fireflies and has joined the survivor camp, which has supplies and running electricity thanks to the dam. Tommy informs Joel that he made a trip back to Austin and recovered a photo of Joel and Sarah, which Joel refuses to acknowledge, again highlighting his refusal to come to terms with the past and the death of his daughter. Joel insists that Tommy should take her to the Fireflies, and the two disagree, with the two almost coming to blows, and with Tommy indicating that the two weren't in Boston anymore, and that if Joel laid his hands on him again, it would be the last thing he did. It's another nod to Joel's past and his violent, aggressive nature. He's far from perfect, and we can see that his past is littered with examples of this type of behaviour. Before it can escalate, the hydroelectric plant is attacked by bandits. As Joel and Tommy fight off the bandits, Ellie and Maria seek shelter. At the end of the attack, Tommy sees Joel's affection for Ellie as he checks her well-being, and as he sees the evident affection he now has for the young girl, he comes to realise why Joel has asked for him to finish the journey, because he doesn't want to lose Ellie or see her come to harm in the same way as Sarah. It's a wonderfully crafted sequence, and one that fully fleshes out this story and the relationship which has now developed fully between Joel and Ellie. Ellie becomes aware that Joel has handed her off to Tommy and runs off to a nearby farmstead. After fighting off yet another small militia group, they both find her, and Ellie and Joel share a quite incredible moment, highlighting both his attachment issues and her abandonment issues.
Running off like that, putting yourself at risk, it's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area
Oh,
better
fuck
than...
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
It's at this moment that Joel realises his mistakes. He realises his attachment issues relate to the death of Sarah, and as a result, makes the decision to take Ellie himself. He informs Tommy that he will be taking Ellie to the Fireflies, and Tommy informs them both that they can be found at the Eastern Colorado University, and set off for what they expect to be the final leg of their journey. As they reach the campus, they realise the Fireflies have vacated the premises and learn they are now in Salt Lake City at St. Mary's Hospital. But before they can leave, another small militia group arrives and attacks them. In the ensuing chaos, Joel falls from the first floor and impales himself on a metal rod sticking from the ground. With Joel severely wounded and incapable of defending her, Ellie, who has grown immensely throughout the game as she witnesses what it takes and also what Joel will do to survive, fights off the remaining men and rides off with Joel on horseback to a nearby village. As she forages to find food for Joel, she hunts a deer and manages to bring it down with a bow and arrow. As she determines how best to bring the animal back, she meets David and James. David is a local group leader who informs her that she is welcome with them. Ellie distrusts David and his intentions. David attempts to reassure her and informs her that he can get her the medicine and asks James to go back and retrieve it. The two then sit and wait, but are ultimately attacked by infected, managing to fight them off, after which David reveals that the men at the university belong to his group and a young girl and man were responsible. As James returns, he sneaks behind Ellie and has her at gunpoint, only for David to demand that he lowers the gun and let her go with the medicine. It transpires that this was a ploy as David commands his group to track her and bring her to him. She administers the medicine to Joel, but is captured by the group as she attempts to draw the group away from Joel, who is still severely injured, unable to stand, and is barely coherent. Ellie is locked away as David attempts to reassure her once again that he can protect her. However, it transpires that the group are cannibals and David a paedophile, or at least it's implied. Ellie breaks David's fingers as he continues to try to convince her. Furious, he informs her she will be next to be eaten. As she's brought out to be chopped up by David and James the following morning, she bites David and then suggests that he is now infected before revealing her arm and bites. As confusion ensues, she grabs the butcher's knife and strikes James in the neck before being chased by David and escaping his militia group. The escape comes to a head when Ellie must kill David in the restaurant, which is now burning after a candle is knocked over in their struggle. In an eerie, scary and horrifying sequence, Ellie is stalked around the restaurant and delivers blows to David on 3 occasions to kill him. A quite frankly excellent moment within the game that still terrifies me to this day playing it. The music, the lighting, the dialogue all play very well into this eerie, scary moment. Joel, on the other hand, has recovered and manages to track Ellie to the town, but only by interrogating 2 of the group, whom he captures, tortures, and then kills.
What the?
You wait here. Now, the girl. Is she alive?
What girl? I don't know no girl. Fuck!
Focus right here, right here. I'll pop your goddamn knee off. The girl.
She's alive. She's David's newest pet.
Where?
In the town. In the town.
Now you're gonna mark it on the map. And it better be the same exact spot your buddy points to. Mark it.
It's right there. You can verify it. Go ask him. Go on. I tell you, I ain't lying. I ain't.
Fuck you, man. He told you what you wanted. I ain't telling you shit.
That's all right. I believe it.
No, wait!
It's another brutal scene and again reinforces the lengths that Joel will go to survive and his violent nature. It's a fantastic scene, but one which certainly shocks. Joel manages to track Ellie to the restaurant where he finds her bludgeoning David to death with the butcher's knife. "It's okay, baby girl," he says.
Oh, baby girl. It's okay. It's okay.
Joel?
The words are reminiscent of what he says to Sarah as she dies in his arms in the opening segment of the game, demonstrating this is a term of affection for Joel and reinforces his relationship with Ellie and how he views her as his surrogate daughter. An amazing development of their relationship and wonderfully done through well-crafted dialogue that you may miss during your first playthrough. All of this sets up a climactic ending of Joel and Ellie making their way to Salt Lake, and as they make their way through a flooded tunnel, Ellie almost drowns in the tunnel's exit when they are met by the Fireflies. A frantic Joel again highlights his love and compassion for Ellie as he attempts to resuscitate her, even though the Fireflies are demanding he comply with their wishes to put his hands behind his head. He is knocked unconscious and wakes to find Marlene, who informs him Ellie is safe and is being prepped for surgery, as the doctor intends to use Ellie to create a vaccine, but that the procedure will kill her. An enraged Joel asks what gives Marlene the right to unilaterally decide her fate before embarking on a killing spree of the Fireflies and rescuing Ellie from the operating theatre. He again repeats the words, "It's okay, baby girl," echoing what he said to Sarah as she died in his arms, and Ellie at the restaurant when confronting David. This is purposely done to create similarity and demonstrates and reinforces his view of Ellie. His desire to protect those from forces which unilaterally make decisions without consent and without regard for the consequences, and again highlighting his evident PTSD from the death of Sarah. It's quite masterful. As he escapes, he encounters Marlene, who attempts one final time to reason with Joel. There appears to be some debate within his own mind before he shoots her, and delivers the final shot to Marlene in brutal fashion. He states, "You'll just come after her." After she pleads with him to let her live in what is quite possibly one of the finest endings to a video game ever. The morality, the legitimacy, the violence of his decision has the player flooded with emotions and questions his actions that I am still unable to fully answer myself 10 years later. Ellie wakes to find Joel driving a car, and he informs her that there's many like her with immunity. As they begin a final hike to Jackson, Wyoming, to the survivor camp, Ellie stops Joel and demands that he verify what he said about the Fireflies was true.
No matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear to me. Swear to me that everything that you've said about the Fireflies is true.
I swear.
Okay.
A simply incredible ending. And I'll post another video on this as it deserves so much more discussion, specifically around Joel and the validity of his actions at the end of the game. And whilst the story is a masterpiece, it's brought to life by two main protagonists in the game. Joel is a complex character whose actions and decisions drive the game's narrative. He's a middle-aged man who has lived through the collapse of society and watched his own daughter murdered and die in his arms, following a viral outbreak that has turned most of the human civilization into infected monsters. The game takes place 20 years after the initial outbreak, and Joel has learned to survive in this harsh world by any means necessary. He is hunted, he is murdered, all to ensure his own survival. One of Joel's defining traits is his brutal pragmatism. He's not afraid to do whatever it takes to survive, whether it's scavenging for resources or killing anyone who poses a threat. This ruthlessness is demonstrated in the game's opening scene where Joel is forced to kill his neighbour, a man who attacks him and Sarah and who is evidently infected. Later in the game we learn that Joel has also been a smuggler, taking on dangerous jobs to provide for himself and those close to him, like Tess. He's ambushed others and hunted, something alluded to while speaking with Ellie in Pittsburgh, and has also pushed his violence so far that it caused Tommy to leave him and join the Fireflies. His willingness to do whatever it takes to survive makes him a formidable ally, but it also puts him at odds with other survivors who may not share his philosophy. As the game progresses, we see Joel's relationship with Ellie develop from just a job to one where he views her as his surrogate daughter. At first, Joel sees Ellie as a means to an end and a way to get paid and possibly find a cure for the virus, but that's not really his overriding concern, especially in the early stages of the game. However, as he spends more time with Ellie, he begins to care for her more deeply, and a father-daughter relationship blossoms in a beautiful yet often brutal fashion. This relationship is one of the most compelling aspects of the game, and it's the driving force behind Joel's decisions throughout the story, and most specifically, the ending, which is one of the most controversial moments within the game. Joel makes a decision that has far-reaching consequences, and his decision, it could be strongly argued, is a selfish one, and it goes against what many players may have expected from him. However, from Joel's perspective, it's the only choice he can make to truly protect Ellie, whom he has come to love as his own daughter. This decision highlights Joel's protective nature and his willingness to do whatever it takes to keep those he cares about safe. Joel's character development throughout the game is masterfully executed. At the beginning, he's a hardened survivor who is emotionally closed off from the world. However, spending more time with Ellie, he begins to open up and show vulnerability. The flashbacks that are interspersed throughout the game show Joel's past trauma and help to explain why he is the way he is. These moments of introspection make Joel a relatable and sympathetic character, despite his often brutal actions. Joel is a complex and nuanced character whose actions drive the story of The Last of Us. He's a survivor who is willing to do whatever it takes to stay alive, but he also cares deeply for those that he loves. His relationship with Ellie is the heart of the game, and it's what makes Joel such a compelling character. Despite his flaws, players come to care for Joel and root for him throughout the game. The Last of Us certainly would not be the masterpiece that it is without Joel at its centre. And Ellie, who is by no means a secondary character within the story, she's incredibly brave despite her age and lack of experience. She faces danger and adversity head on and never hesitates to protect herself and those around her. Her resilience and ability to adapt to harsh environment of the game, it really allows her to survive where many others would not and do not. Her personality is marked by wit and sarcasm. She uses humour as a coping mechanism in the face of bleak and the grim reality of her world. Her wit also allows her to connect with others, even in the most dire of circumstances. She may be tough, but she also has a big heart. She is capable of feeling empathy and compassion for others, even those who may have hurt her, and this trait is especially evident in her relationship with Joel. Despite their initial rocky start, Ellie forms a strong bond with him, and they become kind of a family, with Ellie being a surrogate daughter to Joel. Despite her strength and resilience, Ellie is not invincible. She has suffered significant trauma throughout her life, including losing loved ones and experiencing the horrors of the infected world. These experiences have left her with emotional scars and vulnerabilities that occasionally surface throughout the game's story. Ellie is a determined and resourceful survivor who is always looking for ways to overcome obstacles and survive. She's a quick on her feet and capable individual who can improvise when plans go awry. Her intelligence and cunning allow her to navigate the dangerous world successfully, and she truly is a character that, again, you can root for alongside Joel. Gameplay is centred around survival mechanics. Players must scavenge for supplies such as health kits, homemade bombs and ammunition to keep themselves and their allies alive. The game's crafting system allows for players to create makeshift weapons, healing items and other resources using the materials they find within the environment. This is all done in real time as well, adding to the pressure and suspense of the moment. You must craft and heal in real time, whilst also engaging with or hiding from infected or humans. This forces the player to prepare prior to missions, because you are rarely afforded the luxury of time to craft during an engagement, especially with infected. Fail to prepare, prepare to fail. Supplies and ammunitions are finite, so the player must use them sparingly. Joel can also upgrade weapons at benches, allowing for greater range, quicker reload times, and generally all-round more power for the weapons. Furthermore, stealth and combat mechanics are also critical components of The Last of Us gameplay. Players must use stealth to avoid detection by the infected and hostile human enemies. The game's combat system is designed to be realistic and challenging due to the player's need to conserve ammo and resources while fighting off waves of enemies, as I previously mentioned. Exploration is also a significant aspect of The Last of Us gameplay. The game's world is vast and detailed, with numerous hidden areas to discover and explore. The game encourages players to explore their surroundings thoroughly, rewarding them with valuable resources and items. There are many hidden rooms within buildings that require a shiv to be used to open the door, with the reward being materials, ammunition and more, often in large amounts, which are absolutely vital for progression. And finally, the game offers puzzle solving mechanics which are incorporated seamlessly into the gameplay. Players must use their wits and problem solving skills to navigate through environmental puzzles and overcome obstacles. Some of these are incredibly difficult and may even require prompts from the game or the player to pause and Google the solution. I respect the challenge this game offers in this sense, and it makes it no easy feat to complete, especially the first time around. Include an incredible soundtrack to boot which only heightens suspense, and you have the makings of a true masterpiece. All in all, The Last of Us is simply one of the greatest games that has ever been released. It's rightly lauded as a fine gaming experience and as a work of art released by Naughty Dog. The character development, the story, the gameplay, the soundtrack, and the overall difficulty of the game, combined with an incredible world that will horrify the players, offers something truly unique. It's a game you could complete multiple times in very different ways each time you played it, either opting for stealthier gameplay or going for the all-action route if you have the supplies to sustain you. Never have I before played a game which throws you in the deep end so quickly as The Last of Us, nor have I played a game which ends with such a feeling of, what the fuck have I just played? I just don't know how to feel about that. It shocks, it stuns, it amazes, it dazzles, and is rightly considered a masterpiece of modern gaming.